What's up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Thursday to all of you. DK, show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online. Stream it up at sportstalk1051.com. Got your app, download it, take it on the go. Smart devices, smart speakers, video streams all over the place. It's rolling and up this morning, but happy Thursday. And a big thanks for making us part of your start here. What do we got on a game plan for us this morning? We're going to talk some Badger basketball in action in the Big Ten Conference tournament today. They will be going up against Northwestern after Northwestern taking down the Gophers of Minnesota. Tip time for that game about 1:30. We know Oregon, Indiana is going to be before them, so not exactly, maybe at 1:30, depending on how that game goes ahead of them. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I think bare minimum, I'd like to see the Badgers get a couple wins, get this win, and then win tomorrow against UCLA. Then you're setting up a matchup against Michigan State. I think they need at least 3 to maybe move up a spot in the latest bracketology and maybe to get back to playing in Milwaukee for the first couple of rounds in the NCAA tournament. So I think bare minimum is 2, but I'd like to see 3 because if you get a win against Michigan State, I got to imagine that would move you up at one more spot or at least move you into being able to play in Milwaukee those first couple games next week. So, but you think about it, where we're at right now, right? Thursday, week from today, college basketball, the tournament begins, baby. Ooh, yeah. Don't forget you can sign up right now for our bracket challenge at sportstalk1051.com. Just click on that fan cave tab and scroll down to the bottom and you can pre-sign up. So when it's selection Sunday, this coming Sunday, and the brackets are released, you can go out there and start to make your picks. So we'll talk some college hoops. We've got the Bucks back at action tonight, taking on the Lakers. Bucks looking for a win, hoping to get off their 3-game losing streak here. Tip time for that game at about 6:30. So we'll throw a little Bucks chat into this equation. Quiet day yesterday for the Green and Gold, even though it was the new year. Packers reportedly there's no reports of any signings or anything like that, but Josh Myers leaving, no big surprise after Packers signing Aaron Banks. I think the big surprise though was the fact that how cheap Josh Myers went. He goes to the Jets, pairs up with his former college quarterback Justin Fields, but just 1 year and $3.5 million. So I think that was kind of a surprise, and it wasn't that big of a market. I mean, John Runyon got double-digit millions per year last year, so a little cheap there. I think that could have surprised a lot of people. So nothing really new out there. I guess if you want to, continue with some former Packers talk, I want to throw this question out here for you. Okay, I want to throw this out there, and I know there's probably going to be some eye rolls and like, or like sighs and all that, but it's everybody's still kind of waiting. Not everybody, but some people are still kind of waiting where Rodgers is going to play. Is he going to go to the Jets? Is he going to go to the Steelers? And then yesterday again, the Vikings talk started to pick up a little bit more. So I got to ask. I got to ask if Rodgers goes to the Vikings. I'm not saying the Vikings want him. I'm not saying he's going there. I'm just saying we're playing a little what if. Okay, sometimes we play that game a little what if. What if he goes there? Okay. Would Packers fans feel the same way that we felt when Favre went over there in 09 and then obviously played there 2 years, 09 and 10? Would Packers fans feel the same way? Or not really? I feel like it wouldn't be as hateful. I don't know if that's the right word to say. Because I feel like I don't want to speak for it, but I feel like many fans kind of feel like Rodgers, if he were to go to Minnesota, would actually hurt Minnesota more than maybe when Favre went over there. Probably because, you're seeing how the Jets experiment went the last couple of years. But I feel like there's a big chunk of Packers fans, maybe the majority, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody. But I feel like they'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, because that's just gonna ruin your franchise." Because, I mean, when Roger if he suits up in the purple and gold and he returns to Lambeau, I would imagine he gets booed. Would he get booed as loud as Favre did in his return? I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be vocal. I would think it'd be loud enough that we could tell. But as somebody who was at Lambeau when Favre returned, I mean, it was like I've mentioned how many times it was one of the more tense games I've ever been at, especially considering it was regular season and such. It was just like this feeling. I was at the second time he was there, so the last time he was at Lambeau playing it, and maybe it was because he beat him the 2 times of the year before, so there was just this tense, like, okay, can't lose it again. But I don't know, like, do you think it'd be the same type of reaction? This hate, this. I mean, it took a little bit. I don't think it would. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be cheering for him and such. But what would that feeling be like? I think it'd be different. I honestly feel like it'd be different. But who knows? So let me know. Hit me up with a text or a comment on the video streams. That Shoe Doctor's bullpen line again, 715-830-1912. Because even like I mean, it's different. Like it's a different feeling. I know that it's like, oh, Jets and then Vikings, same as Favre. It's just, you know, when Favre left, I think there was obviously a big section of the fan base that wanted Favre back in Green Bay and not ready to hand it over to Rodgers. Whereas when Rodgers left, I think there was made a bit flip-flopped where it was like, okay, yeah, we're ready to move on. And then, when Favre was with the Jets, I think Packers fans were still kind of a fan for him. I mean, I had a Jets jersey of him, for crying out loud. I don't know of many people, not saying there isn't, but I don't know of, many people who went out and like got that Rodgers Jets jersey, kind of like when it was with Favre. And I even know some people got Favre Vikings jerseys. I don't know if there would be the same amount that would do it for Rodgers and such. So it's different in that. It's just it's different. So we'll hit that up. And then yesterday, if you remember the list we were talking about from The Ringer, the top 100 best sports moments in the last quarter of a century, last 25 years. Did this last night. I want to put a Wisconsin spin on it. Okay. I want to put a little bit of Wisconsin spin. We're not going to do top 100 Wisconsin sports moments in the last 25 years. I don't even know if we could come up with 100. Probably could, but it'd be like, okay, that's maybe stretching it a little bit. But I want to put a different spin and a Wisconsin spin on it. Shorten it up here. The top 10. Okay, we're going to shorten it to 10. The top 10 most significant. Okay, I'm changing the word there. Not best. Most significant Wisconsin sports figures, people of the past 25 years. Okay, so the top 10 most significant in the last 25 years. Who do you got? All right, if you don't want to do top 10, you can send me a few. I think we were all going to have some of the same. I've got my top 10 and I ranked them. And I'm sure mine won't be the same as everybody's. And I'm sure it's just a fun little barstool banter, debate conversation thing here. But I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, well, when you look at the last 25 years in Wisconsin sports history, and I've got a top 5 most significant Wisconsin sports events in the last 25 years, but that's going to be exclusive on our podcast later on today. So you can check that one out. But for this morning, you got top 10 figures, and there was a few that were easy you just rattle them off right away. But then, I've got an honorable mention on here because I think when you get towards the back end, it was like, oh, okay. And then how do you rank them? Who would be the top, the number one most significant Wisconsin sports? And it's a little bit open to interpretation too, because Maybe you're just looking at it from how successful they were on the field or on the court. Maybe you factor in other stuff with it, because it was newsworthy or it was tension grab or, talking points or whatever. So it's a little bit more open to interpretation that way too, if you include other stuff outside of just what they accomplished on the field, what they accomplished on the court. It doesn't just have to be players. You can have coaches, you can have anybody else on there. I've got some coaches on there. So think about that and hit me up with a text. I'm curious to see. Again, I think we're going to have a lot of the same ones, but try to rank them. Okay, try to rank them. I've got my 10 plus an honorable mention. And you don't have to do 10 if you want. If you want to do just a handful of them or 5 or a couple, that's perfectly fine. So curious to see if we're on the same page with some of these and curious to see some of the reasonings for that. We'll hit that up coming up next hour. So we'll hit that up coming up next hour. Also, I do want to talk a little Brewers as we are, 2 weeks away as well from opening day? Yeah. Yeah. 2 weeks away from opening day. So what were you doing when you were 17 years old? What were you doing? I was a senior in high school, and I was getting ready at this point in time to graduate. 21 years ago, 21 years ago, getting ready to graduate high school. Well, you got this kid, this 17-year-old Brewers prospect that is really turning some major league heads. And we'll tell you, you might have seen the name, you might have heard it a little bit. Jesus Made is turning some heads in Major League Baseball, and he's 17 years old for the Brewers. So again, you're getting comparisons to one Jackson Cheerio, who just turned 21 the other day. But we'll tell you exactly, or we'll talk a little bit about it coming up here soon. But you look at what he's doing in spring and May and so far this last year in spring. And looking at what he's doing right now, he's really, really turning some heads. So we'll tell you a little bit about him, and maybe, not for this year, but maybe in the next couple of years, might have another really talented youngster on this major league roster. So we'll talk some Brewers with that as well. Lots to catch up. We're going to dabble in a little bit of everything here this morning. So let's jump right into it. All right. And whatever else you want to talk about, hit me up with a text at 715-830-1912. Also, Packers fans, do you want Cooper Kupp? A simple yes or no. Let me know. Coming up tomorrow, not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, excuse me, a week from tomorrow, Friday, March 21st, we're going to be hanging out at our good friends at the VFW Post 305, watching a little hoops. Got some sports skip day action coming at you. So I know a lot of you out there may be taking some time off, or maybe at least taking the Friday off to watch a little hoops. So hang out with us. We got free Man Cave Light until we are out, till we're out. So stop on over, starting around about 11 a.m. or so on next Friday. Again, March 21st at our good friends, the VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting into some basketball action. No doubt about it. So should be a lot of fun. Also, I forgot to mention a little bit here too. We've got prep basketball last night. Elk Mountain picking up a win, so they move one step closer. Elk Mountain boys, excuse me, they move up one step closer to advancing to state. And we've got other teams in action tonight. It's a big one between Eau Claire Memorial and Marshfield. New Richmond's going to be taking on Wausau East. We've got Ladysmith taking on Cumberland. Turtle Lake taking on Spring Valley. Rib Lake taking on Prentice. Cochrane Fountain Cities taking on Columbus Catholic. Those are all boys games. And then the girls' high school states basketball tournament begins today. Speaking of Elk Mound will be in action at 1:35. Durand, Arkansas. It's going to be later on tonight. They're going to be after the conclusion of the 6:35 game. Then tomorrow you got Owen Withee and Rice Lake all tipping off. So best of luck to all of our local teams and to all the teams that are either getting close to advancing the state, and for those teams who are participating at state. So, all right, we've got, okay, I'm going to minimize. We got a few people texting in with their most significant athletes, significant sports people in Wisconsin history in the last 25 years. So I'll get to those coming up in the next hour. Also, just kind of an informal question I wanted to throw out there for Packers fans is do you want Cooper Cup? Cooper Cup officially released. It seemed to be kind of a topic of debate yesterday after it became official amongst Packer fans, at least on social media, and various reports out there do have the Packers possibly being interested in Cooper Cup, which it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, I guess, because, I mean, Matt LaFleur was with the Rams when Cooper was a rookie. He was the offensive coordinator. If they truly do want a veteran receiver, is Cooper Cup somebody? I know he's been banged up the last couple of years. If it's a cheaper deal, a short-term deal, is that something that you'd sign off on as a fan or thumbs up or whatever? So kind of curious what Packers fans' thoughts are on potentially Cooper Cup being that veteran wide receiver to come over to Green Bay and such. So you can let me know on that. Hit me up with a text or comment on the video streams. We'll begin talking a little hoops. We've got the Badger basketball beginning their Big Ten Conference tournament today, where they're going to be taking on Northwestern. Northwestern yesterday taking down Minnesota, and Minnesota apparently not wasting any time. They have this, as of this morning, it looks like just a couple minutes ago, moving on from their head coach, Ben Johnson. So the Gophers going to be looking for a new head men's basketball coach. But Badgers will be taking on Northwestern, who they defeated earlier this year. It was the Carter Gilmore game, if you remember. So I think, when you look at this Badger basketball team coming off of that loss to Penn State, I hope at least they use it for a little fuel for the fire, kind of use it as motivation, a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, however you want to phrase it, because you got to get that bad taste out of your mouth. I mean, that you got to get that thing out of there. You use it now. You got to use it. And maybe they'll take that out on Northwestern. Hopefully they don't maybe use all of it against Northwestern, because I would think that they could still beat them without using that as extra motivation. But who knows? Northwestern, it always, whether it's football or basketball, always makes me nervous, for crying out loud. But I think bare minimum, I want to see Wisconsin win at least a couple games. You lose this game against Northwestern, then I start to get concerned. Do you drop another spot in the seedings when it comes to the bracketology? I think you have to wait at least a couple to really secure your spot where it's currently at. If we use Joe Lenardi's bracketology, which was updated overnight, because we've already got some conference tournaments and teams already clinching spots. Wisconsin is still in his latest bracketology, still a 4 seed, and they'd be going up against Yale, which honestly, for people doing bracketologies and making picks on brackets, I could see a lot of like just maybe casual basketball fans, college basketball fans picking Yale for that one, just because Yale's always kind of been like the upset team that a lot of people pick. They're always like the 12 or the 13, and they advance. So I could see a lot of people picking Yale over Wisconsin if it were to be that. But I think for sure Wisconsin's got to win today. I'd be nervous if they lose, that they drop another spot. I think bare minimum, I'd like to see them win at least 2 games to at least secure that 4 spot. They would play UCLA tomorrow if they were to win. And right now, if you look at the bracketology, and again, if we use Joe Lenardi's bracketology, he's got UCLA where was as a 6, and they're trending up. So I mean, if UCLA picks up a win, maybe they move up to a 5, maybe they move up to a 4. Who knows? But I think if Wisconsin, you beat Northwestern, then you beat UCLA, and you advance that game against Michigan State. Then, if Michigan State were to beat Indiana, the winner between Indiana and Oregon. But just assuming that that would happen, if we get a Wisconsin and Michigan State game, I think if Wisconsin beats Michigan State, then I think Wisconsin potentially moves up a spot, maybe back up to a 3, and then maybe getting back into the opening rounds in Milwaukee. I think that's big for Wisconsin to be able to get, home court advantage essentially to help you get to the Sweet 16. So I think they've got to have 3 wins in this thing to move up to a potential 3 spot. And right now, the 3 seeds, you got Kentucky, you got St. John's, again, using Lenardi's bracketology, Texas A&M, and Iowa State. So you probably need a little bit of help. Probably need one of those teams maybe to have an early exit. But, I mean, you get a win against a UCLA team that's trending upward and a win against a potential 2 seed in Michigan State. I would think that would do enough. I think if they win the Big Ten Conference Tournament, no question about it, they're probably a 3 seed for sure. So, I mean, you can kind of take care of your own business and take care or, control your own destiny a little bit if you want and pick up, win the Big Ten Conference Tournament, and then you're probably at least going to be a 3. I would think at bare minimum, then you're going to be playing your opening round games at Milwaukee. That to me would be kind of an upset if they weren't able to accomplish that. But get this win today. Use what happened on Saturday as a little motivation for this tournament run. Don't be thinking about UCLA, a matchup with UCLA after this. Channel that energy, channel that anger or frustration, however you want to say it, to make a nice little run here in the Big Ten Conference Tournament. Max Klesmit being back will help out this team. We'll see how effective he's going to be with that ankle injury, with that lower leg injury. Is it going to be on a little bit of a minutes restriction? How effective will he be? But this is where I want to see the guys like John Tanji and Blackwell. And, Blackwell too. I know they came out with their all Big Ten teams, first, second honorable mentions and such. And Blackwell being an honorable mention, I think, at least for Badger people, a lot of people don't agree with that. Feel like he should have gotten more recognition, higher recognition than just honorable mention. I would agree with it. And hey, maybe Blackwell uses that as a little extra motivation here too. But this is for this Big Ten Conference tournament. I want to see the John Tanji, John Blackwell, guard play, help carry this team. And it would be nice if we can get Steven Crowell to be a consistently good performer in this conference tournament. Like, just going in there and getting some momentum before we get to the big dance, before we get to that big tournament. I wanna see this team grab some momentum and play some really good basketball before, maybe they're tipping off a week from today or whether it's a week from tomorrow for their opening round games. But I wanna see a nice run. I wanna see at least 2 wins. 2 wins in this thing, and we'll see about Michigan State if they do play Michigan. I mean, if Michigan State loses and then somehow Wisconsin, say Wisconsin wins their next 2 and they play against Indiana and Oregon, then it should be, all right, you the should advance to the championship game. At that point, Wisconsin should be favored to advance to the championship game. This is the thing with this Badger basketball team. I can see them. I mean, would we be totally shocked if they lose today? I wouldn't be totally shocked if they lose today. I'd be frustrated if they lost today against Northwestern, but I wouldn't be totally shocked. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if somehow they win 3 and advance to the championship game. I could see a lot of different scenarios playing out for this team, for this ball club. So your schedule for today, if you're kind of paying attention, you got Indiana and Oregon tipping off at 11. Wisconsin will be after that game, and then you've got Illinois. They're going to be going up against Iowa. Iowa taking down the Buckeyes last night. So hey, maybe Fran McCaffrey. A lot of questions about whether he's going to be returning or not. Maybe if they can make a little bit of a run here and make things interesting, maybe he kind of secures his job. Maybe he gets back. Who knows? But Iowa picking up a win against Ohio State last night to advance to take on Illinois, an Illinois team that I think a lot of people don't want to play now that they're a little bit healthier, not as sick and such. So, and then you got Purdue taking on USC for the nightcap tonight. If you're looking at Marquette's also going to be in action today at about 1:30. They're going to be taking on the Musketeers of Xavier. So, got the Big East tournaments going on there too. So, not just the Badgers in action, but Marquette. And you talk about a team that's maybe wanting to try to get some momentum before they get into that Big Ten, or excuse me, before they get into the NCAA tournament. You're talking about a Marquette team that is probably wanting to gain some of that momentum. I mean, you lose to UConn, the second to final game of the regular season. You lose to St. John's in a very tight last second game on your home court. A team that was as high as in the top 10 in the rankings, Marquette, at points this season. Now they're the 5th seed in the Big East tournament. I think this is a team that's looking to get some confidence going here, go on a little bit of a run, and hopefully use that confidence and that momentum when they get to the tournament next week. If you're looking again at bracketology for where Marquette is seated right now, it's an 8, according to Joe Lenardi, and going down. So, I mean, if you're Marquette, you want to avoid that 8-9 seed. And right now, they've got Marquette versus Arkansas, and the winner would have to take on Auburn. I mean, this is a Marquette team, again, that we were talking about a couple months ago. Hey, Elite Eights potential, maybe a Final Four. They were looking good, and they're trending downward big time here to maybe where they can't even get out of the second round, maybe not even the first round, because who knows in these 8-9 matchups. So I think if you're Marquette, you're hoping to get at least a couple of wins here and maybe getting out of that 8-9 matchup and possibly moving up to a little, maybe 7. I don't know if they can get as high to a 6, possibly. I mean, if you win the Big East, depending on who you're playing, you're probably, maybe able to move up a couple spots and such. But this is a big East tournament for Marquette to get that momentum and move up a couple spots and better positioning when it comes to the national tournament too. So, but March is here, baby. March is here. Bucks tonight too. Speaking of teams desperate for a win out of Milwaukee, you're looking at the Bucks taking on the Lakers in Milwaukee tonight. The Bucks will have to. They don't have to go up against LeBron tonight. LeBron's still dealing with a groin injury, but Milwaukee riding a 3-game losing streak right now, in stages of their very very tough schedule going on right now. So this is an opportunity for the Bucks. Not going up against LeBron. You got to get this win tonight. You got to end this losing schneid. You're at home where you're 21-11. Take advantage of it for crying out loud before you go on this West Coast trip coming up in a few days. And we talked about, I mean, Pacers are coming to town. Then you've got OKC, who just beat Boston last night to clinch a playoff spot. Take advantage of the fact that you're at home. Take advantage of the fact that LeBron's not playing tonight for the Lakers. Get this W and stop this 3-game losing streak, because you are in this fight with the Pacers and the Pistons for that 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I know you're only quote unquote only 5.5 back from the Knicks for a 3 seed, but you're tied up with the Pacers. Pistons are right there too. It's a little bit of scoreboard watching at this point. You've got, Indiana, they're going up against the 76ers tomorrow. You would expect the Pacers to win that one. You've got Pistons going up against the Wizards. You would expect the Pistons to take care of business and get that win. So these two, Pistons and Pacers putting the pressure on Milwaukee. With Milwaukee in this very tough portion of the schedule, you got to take advantage of tonight's game against the Lakers with no LeBron, and you're playing at home. You got to get this win. I'm looking at the Giannis's. I'm looking at Dame to have a bounce back game. Your leaders, this is where you got to have your leaders step up and lead the charge and lead this team to a W. I want to see Giannis dominate in this game. I want to see Dame shoot better in this game. I'm expecting the stars to come out and lead this team to a victory. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour. Don't forget, though, Packers fans, do you want Cooper Kupp? Would you sign off on a potential Cooper Kupp signing by the Packers? Also, Packers fans, would it feel the same if one Aaron Rodgers potentially went to the Vikings? Would it feel the same as it did when Favre went there, or would you not care as much? Because we cared back in 09. We cared. We didn't like it. We hated it. We took it out on Favre. But I feel like it'd be different. I feel like there maybe wouldn't be as many Packer fans that would be like upset about it. I honestly feel like a good chunk would kind of chuckle about it and say, Minnesota, have fun. You're going to ruin your team that way. Or, maybe you're like, hey, Kevin O'Connell, though, that's different. Look at the job he did last year with Sam Darnold. So maybe that would make you nervous. But what would your feelings be like if all of a sudden we announced it broke that Aaron's going over to Minnesota? Would you have similar feelings to 09, that hate? Or maybe not. And then coming up next hour, the top 10, your top 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures in the past 25 years. I've got my 10 with an honorable mention. We'll see if some of ours match up. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll wrap up the first hour. Plus, Brewers talk. We'll tell you about this 17-year-old that's turning some major league heads. Your tax refund just came in. Now, what if you could turn it into something that you will enjoy every single day? At Carpet City Flooring Center, you can upgrade your home with beautiful, high quality flooring, whether it's a new carpet in the bedroom, maybe some new vinyl planks in the living room, or possibly remodeling your shower with some amazing new tile. Carpet City Flooring Center has so many different options for you to choose from. Your tax refund makes it easy and affordable to do that. Why spend it on something you'll forget about in a month? Invest it in your home and enjoy the comfort and style for years to come. Just visit Carpet City Flooring Center today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire, where the team is ready to help you transform your living or workspace with some amazing new floors. Turn your tax refund into something truly rewarding this year with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. All right, got about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll talk some Packers, and I'll do my top 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures from the past 25 years coming up in the next hour. Uh, Send me your receive or defer questions too. So send me those as well. If you got any good receive or defer questions to play along coming up next hour. So we'll finish up talking a little baseball, talk a little Brewers baseball as we are 2 weeks away from opening day. It's coming. It's going to be here. Starting to kind of feel it. Now we can say tomorrow when Brandon's in, we talk some more Brewers baseball. We'll be less than 2 weeks away from opening day and such. But we've talked about a lot of different prospects, a lot about some of the different younger guys, whether it's been like Cooper Pratt and such. But there's another youngster, another infielder, shortstop slash third baseman in the Brewers system that has really been turning some heads. Now, if you're a diehard Brewers fan, you've probably heard his name, but now he's turning some heads into major league level and getting some talk. So just the other day, the updated farm systems were released. And even with taking Jackson Cheerio out of it now, the Brewers jumped up 10 spots, believe it or not. 10 spots. And they are now a top 10 team, actually ranked number 7 in the new farm system rankings. So in 2024, the midseason rank, they were 17. But they moved up 10. And part of it is Jefferson Caro, who we talked about the catching prospect just the other day. We've talked about Cooper Pratt. We've talked about Jacob Mizorowski. They're all listed as a top 100. But the Brewers have a 17-year-old, soon to be 18-year-old in May, who has jumped up to number 55, ranked higher, one spot higher than Cooper Pratt. And he's higher than Jacob Mizorowski. The only Brewers prospect ranked higher than him is Jefferson Caro. But Jesus Made, the 17-year-old, has been really impressing and turning a lot of heads so far this spring. I mean, you go to Brewers.com and you could see some videos of him with some highlight plays and such. And I mean, it's pretty impressive for a 17-year-old. Like I was thinking about this, reading a little bit. There's a couple of pieces out there about this kid, whether it's at Brewers.com or Major League level and such. And just thinking about what I was doing when I was 17. He turns 18 in May. So if we did put myself in it, I was 17. I was getting ready to graduate high school at this point in time, and I was going to turn 18 in July. So, I mean, to think about what he's doing and playing baseball right now and has the as Jordan would say, the roof is the ceiling right now. The sky's the limit for this kid and all the talk about him. I mean, we went through it with Jackson Cheerio, and he's drawing comparisons to Jackson Cheerio in terms of like the rise in that. But man, he's really garnering a lot more talk here as of late. And these are some of the numbers that he put up in 2024 in minor league ball. and it's pretty darn impressive. So, yeah, and because we got the spring breakout coming up, and that's why you're starting to hear his name being talked a little bit more about. But his 2024 numbers as a 17-year-old, okay, 51 games, 331 batting average, a 1.012 OPS, 6 home runs, 28 stolen bases. You look at him and he looks everything like a 17-year-old. And this is a guy going up against, players who are a few years older, probably a little bit more mature, physically mature and such than him. But this is a guy that if you're a Brewers fan, start, remember, this is the thing with this Brewers team. I know it maybe frustrates some Brewers fans, but you look at their farm system and you look at a lot of their younger guys, even the guys that are probably on the major league roster right now. Say what you want about how the Brewers have constructed their rosters over the years in terms of free agency and signing guys and such. The one thing that they have done well that I think you got to give them credit for, one is they seem to do well in finding pitchers and developing pitchers and that. But at least in the last couple of years, in the last few years, they've been really, really solid at finding some of these younger prospects where it sure seems like sky is the limit for these guys. Now, I don't know if Jesus Made will ever suit up for the Brewers in the regular season. Could he be part of a trade package? That's the thing when it comes to baseball. We don't know if these prospects that we're talking about will ever, be everyday starting players for the Brewers or if they will end up being traded for a person that can help them out right now. But when you look at Jesus and you look at a Cooper Pratt and you got a Jackson Cheerio locked up for a while, you got Bryce Terang, those young players, it gets you excited about the future. But I know a lot of Brewers fans right now, we don't want to just be excited about the future. We want to be excited about the now and the win now. But this might be a good problem for the Brewers to have down the line if you think about it, because you've got Cooper Pratt, who's a shortstop, Jesus, who is a shortstop, but also listed as a third baseman. You got Joey Ortiz. You got this Jefferson Caro, who's a catching prospect. You got Contreras up there. The Brewers have some options and they got some depth for the next few years here. And this young talent it's going to be fun to watch. And it's going to be kind of curious to see how these guys, how their progressions continue to go about. I mean, there's, with Jesus, okay? The fact that he's getting more attention and we're talking about him a little bit more, there's going to be a little bit more pressure on him. And as a 17-year-old, let's see how he kind of handles that pressure. I mean, put yourself in those shoes. I mean, we're all probably thinking, man, I wish I was doing what he was doing at 17. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I wish at 17 years old that I was being talked about as this next up and coming, great Major League Baseball player, or this Major League Baseball player that, you know, is on track to being a really good ball player. But that's also a lot of pressure, and I don't know. Actually, I do know. There's no way I probably could have handled that type of pressure as a 17-year-old. Brewers farm director Tom Flanagan talking about Jesus here a little bit, said, "What will it ultimately come down to? Baseball skill wise, we're confident he could go to Carolina, probably like what Jackson did, but it's also all the off the field stuff. You're in a new country. You're not even 18 years old yet. How do you go to a grocery store? Keeping up with the language, balancing the life skills, and all the things growing up in the States you kind of take for granted. That's going to be the big factor. It came naturally to Jackson, and he was comfortable in the States. Jesus has shown signs of that already, so we're hopeful he can at least start out on that path. Where it ends up, we'll see." And I think that's a good point that that Tom mentioned there. Youngster, not only being a youngster at 17, not even 18-year-old, and playing professional baseball, going to a different country, language barriers and that. That's why, like these youngsters, whether it's like hockey players for the Steelers or something like that, when you're talking about these kids that are on the road and moving and living with host families at a young, I don't think I could have ever done that. Now I was never at that skill level of any, not even halfway there. But to think about that stuff that we don't even think about, we see these youngsters and they're playing hockey and they're playing baseball and they're doing all this and it's so cool to see. But the off the field, off the ice, off the court stuff, they're away from families. They're young and they're away from families, going into some unknown territory. It's got to be a little nerve wracking too. So, but remember that name. Remember another Brewers youngster that maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but maybe in the next couple of years, kind of a similar path to what Jackson Churio was on for the Brewers. Okay, about a minute and a half till the shot clock cuts me off. So coming up next hour, Packers fans, do you want Cooper Kupp? Yes or no? Yes or no, and why? Tell me why you don't want Cooper Kupp. There's some reports out there connecting the Packers to Cooper Kupp. So are you a yay or are you a nay on that? Also, what if Rodgers went just to the west of us and suited it up for the Vikings, would it feel the same when Favre did it in 09? Would you have that animosity, that hate that we had in 09? Or maybe, nah, he's going to ruin that franchise? Because I feel like that's what some fans would feel like. Hit me up. Let me know on that. Plus, give me your top 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures from the past 25 years. So that's the year 2000. 2000 to 25. Okay? So guys who stopped playing or stopped coaching in the 90s, not eligible for this. All right? One in. We got a couple more to go. And don't forget, you can send me some receive or defer questions. We'll get to that at the back end of this hour. Got some news updates, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll kick it off with a little Throwback Thursday coming up after these quick words. All right, here we go. Second hour kicking off for right now on this Thursday morning of March 13th. Big thanks for tuning in, however you're tuning in. We're going to talk a little green and gold here. Make the case for and against maybe the Packers bringing in Cooper Kupp, wide receiver Cooper Kupp, who was officially released by the Rams yesterday. There's some speculation that the Packers could be um, the favorites, or at least players for Cooper Kupp. So we'll hit that up, and I want to hear from you. Are you a thumbs up? Are you okay with that? Are you thumb down? Your thoughts? Let me know. Hit me up, because I mean the wide receiver talent pool's getting a little bit drained out there. It's all veterans. So I know Amari Cooper is a guy still out there and such, but we'll hit that up coming up here in a little bit. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so. I'll give you my top 10. So yesterday we were talking about the Ringer article about the 100 most influential, was it most, or no, excuse me, the 100 best sports moments in the last quarter century, in the last 25 years. So I'm putting a Wisconsin spin on it and editing it a little bit. The most significant Wisconsin sports figures. That's a key word there, figures, because we've got quite a few picks in here, but there is one figure that has been missing on a majority of them. That has been missing on more. I'm a little surprised, but hey, I'll go through my list. We do have a lot of. I would say my top two are the same as almost everybody's top two right now. So, but we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. And then I am going to do on the podcast later my top 5 most significant Wisconsin sports events or happenings in the last 25 years. But that'll be on a podcast later on today. So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Also, Packers fans, just kind of an informal poll question. If, not saying it's going to, but it is a talking point out there. It is being thrown out there as a possibility. If Rodgers was to suit up for the purple and the gold, would it have the same feelings as 09? Would you have the same feelings as you did against Favre in 09? Or are you kind of like, whatever? I feel like it would be different for a lot of people. Like they wouldn't have that anger or animosity. I feel like it would be different. All right, let's do some a little throwback Thursday here for you. In 1878, the first collegiate golf match was played between Oxford and Cambridge. 1954, Bobby Thompson from the Milwaukee Braves broke his ankle sliding into a base during a spring training game. Why is that significant? Because the Braves replaced him with some dude named Hank Aaron. And Hank Aaron would make his major league debut the following month. We've got 1960, the NFL's Chicago Cardinals transferred to St. Louis. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it for a little throwback Thursday. Well, yeah, looks like that's about it. Yeah, that's it for your throwback Thursday for this March 13th. March 13th. So you always hear the old adage, guys can't lose jobs because of injuries. There's so many examples throughout sports history that that's not the case. Let's check in on a couple of texts here. We've got looks like a wide majority of you saying yes to Cooper Kupp. We've got Dave saying yes to Cooper Kupp. You can get him for a cheaper deal, a short-term deal, bringing in a veteran, and he's familiar already with the offense. Matt LaFleur worked with him as a rookie in 2017, so that would be a bonus. Nick saying, why not? There's slim pickings in the wide receiver market. You don't have to rely on him to be a number one wideout. Mix him in with the veterans. He would provide positive veteran leadership for this group. I wouldn't have a problem with it. Then another texter, no name, says it wouldn't be a big splashy move, but I could get on board with it. He's a solid player, would provide solid veteran leadership, and he's very familiar with the offense. You don't have to count on him to be a number one like he was a few years ago. Surveyor Sam also saying that, yes, I want Cup. We didn't have a proven number one, and even an 80% Cup is better than any of our wide receivers right now, especially since Dobbs is concussion prone and Watson will not be coming back this year. Mark says, give Cooper a shot. What the heck? Ben says, yes. Okay, so pretty much everybody so far says yes to Cooper Kupp. Ben says yes to Cooper Kupp. Add more depth. Depth is not a bad thing. Why not? Steve, okay, we got one that says no. Steve says, while I know the free agent market is getting slim, I am thumbs down on Cooper Kupp. Dude is awesome when he's healthy, but he's played 8 years and he's missed at least 5 games in 4 of them. We have enough injury concerns of our own at wide receiver right now, so I don't think we should go for another one who has had so many. Another person actually talks about the injury concerns. We've got Greg that says yes to Cooper Kupp. Everybody's going to make a big deal about his injuries, and that is a thing, but he won't be relied upon as being a number one wide receiver. He'll be relied upon to being a part of a rotation that could help keep him healthier. Why not for just a 1 or 2 year deal? I'll be honest, my pick, yeah, why? I'm kind of with the majority of you right now. Why not? Why not? If it's a 2-year deal where he's a few $1,000,000 per year, why not? Give it a shot. He's familiar with the offense, similar styles. Matt LaFleur knows him from when he was a rookie. They worked together. What do we got to lose? Why not? Sure. If he's there, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be disappointed. Go for it. You look at what he did last year in just 12 games. He still put up over 700 yards receiving. Year before that, in 12 games, over 700 yards receiving. Even in 2022, when he only played 9 games, he had over 800 yards receiving. So I think if he's on the field, he still can be an effective player. Is he the version of 2021 where he nearly had 2,000 receiving yards and he had 16 touchdown passes? No, he's not. But I think if I kind of agree with you, Surveyor. If you get 12, 13, 14 games out of Cooper Kupp and he's going to get you close to 800 yards receiving, I'll take that. I'll take that for a guy who's in his early 30s, and then you factor in the veteran part, just adding some more depth to that. Why not? Get him. I'd still address receiver maybe in a draft just to add more depth. But yeah, I'm on board with it. Thumbs up for me. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I honestly, I still want Green Bay to go get a veteran wide receiver. And when you look at the group out there, you still got an Amari Cooper. He's a name out there. Last year when you look at it, even so, Amari Cooper, if we combine what he did with the Bills and the Browns, Cooper Kupp still outperformed him. More touchdowns than Amari Cooper, more receiving yards than Amari Cooper. If you just want to look at it from that perspective. 2024, how many? I want to see how many games did he actually play in 2024. He 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 13 games. I don't think he played in that game against the Lions. I could be wrong on that, but no, 14. Okay, so I mean, maybe a game, maybe a couple games more than Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp still put up more numbers than him. 44 receptions for Amari, 67 for Cooper Kupp last year. So, yeah, I'd be good with it. Why not? So, we'll see, but it sounds like he's going to have kind of a wide market. But in terms of the Rodgers thing, it's pretty split. Few of you saying that, and I won't go through every text here because it's pretty much the same thought process. But a few of you said yes, that it would feel the same way as 09 because it's happened exactly the same way. Rodgers goes to the Jets, then he goes to the Vikings, so you'd feel the same way. Others are saying that When Favre left, they were coming off of an NFC Championship game, um, and really we weren't, kind of tired. I'm just kind of lumping a couple of these together. Weren't tired of Favre's antics, even though he always played the retired card a lot. There was still love for Favre when he left, not so much when Rodgers left. I think people were just tired of Rodgers. That's kind of where I was going. I think people were, the breakup was a lot messier with Favre than it was with Rodgers. When Packers handed over the franchise to Jordan Love, I think there was a bigger majority of Packers fans ready to move on from Rodgers, and I think they were just tired of the off the field stuff, the antics, being on shows and talking and just that sort of stuff. I think they were tired of that. Also, I think, Favre, there was a lot of good. I mean, Favre was kind of the first quarterback in that line too. You went from Favre to Rodgers, and now you got to Love here. But Favre, I mean, there was kind of the end of a lot of really good memories on the field. I mean, he's a lot of people's favorite player and such. So I think there was a little bit of an emotion attachment to that. But that wasn't as messy. You know, there wasn't like these hard feelings. How do I want to say this? Like when Favre retired, I mean, there was a lot of Packers fans, they were sad, disappointed that when he wanted to come back, there was a lot of Packers fans that wanted him back. It was just the Rodgers. It got to a point that I think just a majority of Packers fans just wanted to move on and be done with it. So if he were to go to Minnesota, I think there would be, and then considering what happened with the Jets, and, him bringing in all his buddies and his former friends and seeing how that all played out, not saying Favre's Jet season went great either, but seeing how it all played out and all this money and all that, and guys now getting fired or not even there anymore, I think there's a big contingency of fans that be like, "Yeah, go ahead, go to Minnesota," and, they would probably have the mindset that it would maybe kind of ruin that franchise or hurt their chances to getting a Super Bowl. I honestly feel like that would be, or that's a thought process for a lot of fans out there. Whereas when Favre went there, it was clearly evident, like, yeah, that's a that's a big boost for that team. And there was this animosity from Favre to Green Bay sort of thing. You're like, we don't want him to kick our what and such. And I honestly feel like a lot of Packers fans probably would feel like even if Rodgers went to Minnesota, you aren't that worried or you're not that scared of them, if I'm safe in saying that. So, but yeah, I honestly feel like a lot of Packers fans, it's I feel like a lot of Packer fans would be whatever. They'd have a whatever reaction to it. They wouldn't be nervous. They wouldn't be scared. They wouldn't be upset about it. Be like, whatever. Doesn't bother them that much because I don't think they're that worried about Rodgers going over there. We'll see how it plays out if he does. But I mean, I don't, if it is just between the three teams of the Steelers and the Vikings and the Giants and Rodgers has his choice of where to go, of course, of course that I would think that he'd want to prefer the Vikings. I mean, if you were to see those three teams, which one would you say has a better shot to compete for a championship? It's the Vikings. There's no question about it. It's Minnesota. All right. Before we head to break, we got a couple. I'll go through a couple of top 10 lists here. We've got, this was a little bit earlier. Kyle says his top 10 for the most significant Wisconsin sports figures for the past 25 years. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Giannis. Number 3, David Stearns. Number 4, Bo Ryan. Number 5, Ryan Braun. Number 6, Ted Thompson. Number 7, John Horst. Number 8, Christian Yelich. Number 9, Brian Gutekunst. Number 10, Charles Woodson. Kaminsky and Decker, honorable mentions. Surveyor Sam's got, we've got Aaron Rodgers at number 1, Giannis at number 2, Frank the Tank at number 3, Ryan Braun at number 4, Mike McCarthy number 5, Mike Budenholzer 6, Favre 7, Yelich 8. I'm assuming you mean Bo Ryan over Greg Gard at number 9 and number 10, Sam Decker. I got my 10. We got a lot of the same names. But we got a couple different ones on this list too. So I got my 10. Last call for your 10. Text them on over 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Craving top quality meats? Then you better get to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From juicy steaks to mouth-watering brats and snack sticks, they've got you covered for whatever you are craving. Whether it's a family dinner or a tailgate feast, they've got the best selection in town. Friendly service, unbeatable flavor. Mike's Star Market is your one-stop shop for everything meat. Just swing by today at 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire and taste the difference. All right, so we'll set this up again. Yesterday, we were talking a little bit about the Ringers piece, the top or the best 100 best sports moments in the last 25 years in the last quarter century. I'm putting a Wisconsin spin on it and editing it a little bit. So changing it to the 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures in the past 25 years. Figures. Okay. So it doesn't just have to be athletes. And technically doesn't have to just be coaches either. So figures. And then later on in the pod, I've got my top 5 most significant sports events or moments in Wisconsin in the last 25 years. So that's only going to be on the podcast later. So there's some easy names on here. I think for me, the trickiest part was figuring out the back end of this. So let's just jump into it. My top 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures for the past 25 years. After I go through them, you can yell at me. I don't care. It's my list. I got a couple of honorable mentions on here too. So it's just for fun, just for a little banter, a little debate, little barstool talking and such. But I got 2 honorable mentions. One of them, actually, okay. I got 3. Okay, now because I've they kind of go hand in hand a little bit. 2 of them do, but I think they were. And the thing is too, when we say significant, it doesn't necessarily have to be a positive significance, right? It could be significant in other ways, maybe not. In the most positive ways or such, or how your personal feelings are towards them. But I'm putting, because we did have a little bit of a transition between the two, Bob Harlan and Mark Murphy. I know Bob Harlan, mostly you think about it in the 90s as the Packers president and such, but you talk about, the early 2000s, getting the renovations of Lambeau Field, essentially campaigning to help get that done. Bob Harlan, to me, is still one of the most underrated, not talked about enough Packers figures, even in Packers history, in pro football history. For all the talk about the 90s and the turnaround with Favre, with White, and Mike Holmgren, and Ron Wolf, the foursome there, it started with Bob Harlan. And Bob Harlan deserves some of that credit. And I honestly feel like Bob Harlan should get talked about more when you talk about like Pro Football Hall of Fame stuff and contributors. So Bob Harlan, I know, is at the back end of his career, but then, transitions into Mark Murphy. And again, say what you want about personal stuff with Mark Murphy, whether you agree with it or not, but the Titletown district and now the NFL draft coming over next month, that's significant stuff. That's some big time stuff when it comes to little old Green Bay and trying to keep up with the other Joneses in the NFL and the big markets in the big cities. So I think, they kind of go hand in hand there with the transition in the early 2000s from Bob to Mark Murphy, but they all had significant impacts within the franchise. And then the other honorable mention I have on there is Craig Counsell. Again, say what you want about, him moving on to the Cubs, and I know even towards the end of his Brewers tenure as manager, there were some Brewers fans that were like, oh, is he even a good manager? And that. You look at what he did. He won a ton of games as the Brewers manager. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. You can even throw in his little bit of a playing career with the Brewers if you wanted to. But there's no question you can't write part of the Brewers' history, especially from 2000 to 2025, without mentioning Craig Counsell's name. So those are my honorable mentions. Number 10. It's tie. But it's owners. I went with Mark Anasio and the Bucks ownership group at number 10. I'll start with the Bucks ownership group. Lasry's, Wes Edens, et cetera, et cetera. Purchasing it from Herb Cole, and you can even throw Herb Cole into that too if you want. But purchasing the Bucks, not only purchasing the Bucks, keeping the Bucks in Milwaukee, building the Fiserv Forum, and then throwing money into this team to make them a competitive team, to being a championship team and a championship caliber team. Bucks district, everything around it. I mean, it's the Bucks in the last 5 to 10 years. We're talking about championship expectations, all-time great player, and Giannis in there. Bucks ownership group had a lot to do with that. And then Mark Anasio, I know, is a lightning rod of a topic for Brewers right now. But again, it doesn't always have to be positive significance. His significance with the team, purchasing it from the Seeligs. And now they've are in the conversation, a lot of playoff experiences. But he's also a talking point. Does he do enough now? Has he been doing enough the last few years to put his team in a position to compete for championships? They've gotten to a point now where they're consistently winning divisions or getting into the postseason. But is he taking that next step? He is a lightning rod of a topic for Brewers fans and Wisconsin sports fans out there. So for me, that's why he's a top 10 at number 10 right now. Number 9, I'm going Ted Thompson. The last time Ted Thompson was general manager, the last year Ted Thompson was general manager for the Packers was in 2017. But we still talk about him. We still assume, I think, a lot that Goody is a version of Ted Thompson. And maybe in some aspects he is, but he's not full-on Ted Thompson. But we still talk about Ted Thompson, whether it's his draft misses or his lack of free agent moves. Or, man, that guy could draft a wide receiver or find an offensive lineman. Or maybe, give him credit for drafting Aaron Rodgers and pulling the trigger and going through that melee of the Favre stuff, signing a guy like Charles Woodson. Ted Thompson was a very impactful, significant sports figure, whether it was positive or negative, however you choose it. Uncle Ted, right? I mean, that was kind of the nickname, Uncle Ted. But Ted Thompson, even though he is gone from this earth, and the last time he was general manager for the Packers was 2017, we still talk about him, and we still talk about the effects he had on the franchise, whether it be positive or negative. And I think a lot of fans still just kind of say Goody's a 2.0 version of that. But he absolutely was one of the most significant Wisconsin sports figures in the last 25 years for Green Bay. Number 8, I'm going to go Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich, coming over to the Brewers. Was that 2018? Yeah, 2000. I think we all kind of remember that day. That actually might be one of the top Wisconsin sports moments. I think a lot of us still remember that day when we found out David Stearns had signed Lorenzo Cain, and then they traded Lewis Brinson. Lewis Brinson, not the guy that we thought was going to be the next great Brewer, for Christian Yelich. But everybody was pumped, like, oh my gosh! And Christian Yelich comes in with a bang, wins an MVP, might have won another MVP if he didn't get hurt. Gets a big contract. Now the last few years, been banged up with injuries. But there's no question, Christian Yelich, when you think about the Brewers and you think about the significance he has had on his team, whether, again, be positive with his MVPs, with his play, the negatives, the injuries, contracts, playing up to that, he has definitely been a significant part of Wisconsin sports history in the last 25 years. So Christian Yelich, for me, is at number 8. Number 7, Frank the Tank, Frank Kaminsky. You're talking about a National Player of the Year in basketball. A Wisconsin Badger basketball player was National Player of the Year. one of the mains, if not the main guy that led this team to back-to-back Final Fours and a national championship appearance. Goofy guy. I mean, I love that's still the 14, 15 Badger basketball teams of all the Wisconsin sports teams. They're right at the top, near the top of my favorite. Fun-loving group, goofy group, and you just mix in Bo Ryan with that, and it's like I love those teams so much. They were so much fun. And Frank the Tank was at the center, pun intended. But, you had some great Badger basketball players over the years. Michael Finley, you want to go back to Griffith, Tucker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in the last 25 years, Frank the Tank, I think you got to put him in there. Number 6, I'm going to go Ryan Braun. I shouldn't have to explain this one too much, but again, MVP, Rookie of the Year, 2011, and then kind of similar to Yelich in terms of injuries and such, contract. I still feel like Ryan Braun will get that number 8 retired at some point by the Brewers. I think you're seeing the stages. Last year was the Walk of Fame or the Wall of Fame, and it's going to happen in stages. I do think 8 is going to be up there in the rafters. But Braun was kind of, with that team of 08s, we talk about that 08 team of finally getting in the postseason and then just the consistency level. Braun was at the forefront of all that. It was kind of like you had these youngsters with Prince Fielder, J.J. Hardy, Ricky Weeks, Corey Hart, and then comes in this Ryan Braun. And yes, you had CC in 08 there too, but Braun was kind of the face of the franchise. And then you factor in the whole steroid stuff, illegal substance stuff. That was pretty darn significant, right? That storyline was pretty darn significant. And how it all transpired, gets it overturned, but then gets caught again, paper trail, and then he admits to lying. Significant. There were some positives. There's a lot of negatives, though, too. But you can't write the history of Wisconsin sports in the last 25 years without mentioning Ryan Braun. All right, top 5 now. My top 5. I mentioned this guy a little bit earlier, but I'm going to go Bo Ryan at number 5. Coming in the early 2000s, Dick Bennett got that team to the Final Four in 2000. Did wonders for basketball, took them to another level. In steps Bo Ryan and takes them up another level of consistent success at Wisconsin. And even before those Final Four teams, I know there was people that were still kind of like, not maybe fully on the Bo Ryan train. They thought, okay, Bo can only take them so far, Sweet 16s and whatever. But then you had those 14 and 15 teams, and you had the Final Fours, and then the national championship appearances. Bo Ryan, no question to me, in the last 25 years is one of the most significant, influential sports figures in Wisconsin sports history for the level of success that Wisconsin Badger basketball had. I don't know if a lot of you see this, whether there's some of these videos that go around social media, and there's been one I've seen a few times, and it's one of those time-lapse trackers for college basketball programs from 2000 to now, and it tracks the amount of wins and tournament wins. And you see Wisconsin from 2000 to where it is now shows up out of nowhere and just rises and goes up. It's like that graph of just going up, 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 and they're top 10, top 5. It's like, wow. I mean, college basketball, 2000, 2025. And you're seeing Wisconsin up in there, mixed in with the Dukes, mixed in with the Carolinas or the Kansases and the Kentuckys. When you think about college basketball, Michigan State. And Wisconsin's right there. And that has a lot to do with Bo Ryan. So, Bo Ryan, to me, is easily top 5. I'm surprised from all the listeners that sent in their list, this person has not been mentioned. And I'm a little surprised by it. But that's why I termed it significant sports figures. It's not just athletes. It's not just coaches. I mean, a lot of you have turned in general managers or owners. Why not a broadcaster? Bob Uecker to me is a significant Wisconsin sports figure, and I'm surprised that I haven't gotten Uecker's name mentioned once from listeners. To me, he is easily, when I think about significant Wisconsin sports figures, Bob Uecker is there. And if you think he should be higher, you're probably right. He should probably be higher on my list. He easily could be higher than number 4. But when you think about Wisconsin sports figures in just history, if you were to make a Mount Rushmore, I'd put him up there. No question about it. And, we've talked about him more probably for the last few years because we, obviously getting up there in age and like, can we just get a World Series for Bob? Can we get a World Series for Bob? But when you talk about all of the different aspects, I mean, when the Brewers stunk, you were still listening, you're still following because of Bob Uecker. Right? You were still listening because of Bob Uecker. And for all the low years of the Brewers and even at the high points too, you wanted to hear Uecker's call. I can't tell you how many times we'd have people say, "Hey, can you replay Uecker's call on the show this morning?" It's Uecker. So Uecker to me is 100%, and honestly, probably should be higher on my list. But when I think about significant Wisconsin sports figures, you have to include Bob Uecker on that list. You have to. Number 3, I went with Brett Favre. And yes, a lot of that is from, you could say a lot of his careers and success was in the 90s when he won 3 MVPs, got to Super Bowl 31, and he got to Super Bowl 32. You're exactly right. And honestly, I probably should flip-flop maybe Favre and Uecker. But when I think about Favre, and I think about, when from 2000 to 2007, 2008, last year in Green Bay, 2007, you think about maybe for people of my generation, my age, and you think about the Packers, it was Favre. It was Favre. And I mean, he was everything about Wisconsin, even though he was from Mississippi, hunter, outdoors, might rather have been, sitting in a tree stand than playing football at times and such. But he exemplified, I think, everything about Wisconsin that just gravitated, or just a lot of Wisconsin people connected with him so much. But not only just because he was the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, but I think you have to factor in that summer of 2008 was pretty dang significant. And he was the center of it all. To retire in 2007, I still remember the date, March 4th, 2007. I still remember being in college and being woken up by one of my roommates, and all he said was, "Turn on the TV," and he left. And it was Favre had retired. Going to campus for classes, UW-Eau Claire, the amount of people wearing Favre jerseys, I was one of them. And just the overall, sadness. And all the Sports Illustrated's coming out with Favre and these commemorative things, and it's like the goodbyes, and then Madden's like, "Hey, we're going to put Favre on the cover." And then David Letterman's appearance where he says, "Something's bound to happen." And then it's like, uh-oh. And then the summer of 2008. All of that. He flies into family night. The meetings with McCarthy and Ted Thompson, and the banners being flown at training camp. Bring back Brett.com or whatever. And then you even go to 2009, excuse me, when he goes to Minnesota. People holding Favre funerals and burning jerseys and all that. Favre was a pretty dang significant Wisconsin sports figure. Definitely in the 90s. 2000s, maybe for some different stuff. But again, if not having Favre on that list, you're missing a big gap in Wisconsin sports history. Uh so my top two actually is pretty much the same from the majority of people. I'm going Giannis at number two. You're talking about one of the all-time greats in not only just Milwaukee Bucks history, NBA history. He's going to go down. I truly believe he will be debated whether how close he is to a top 10, top 20 player of all time. That'll be the debate. I don't think a lot of people would probably put him in top 10, but I could easily see him being between 10 and 20. And especially like if he plays his whole career with Milwaukee, which is an unknown. We don't know that at that point. But if he does, he's going to move up on the pedestal of Wisconsin sports lore. If he finishes his career with Milwaukee, plays his whole career there. But you talk about one of the all-time greats playing in Milwaukee. He brought back a championship to the Bucks. He has, I think, almost single-handedly recruited more fans to follow the Bucks. He's just an overall from what, and I know it's a dangerous assumption when it comes to athletes, but he has overall just like, he seems like an overall good guy. Like we talk about how many times that's who I want as my kid's role model in terms of a sports athlete. Seems like he does it the right way, has the right mindset, has the right attitude. But I mean, for crying out loud, when you think about the last 25 years and you think of athletes in the state of Wisconsin, you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of other people ahead of Giannis. He changed a whole organization. He's changed the fortunes of a whole organization. And you're talking about now one of the best players to ever put on a basketball uniform. And you know how he just first started when he got drafted. Who? Who cares? It's the Bucks. And just completely changed the landscape and the narrative surrounding the Bucks. So yeah, you got to put Giannis. If you say Giannis should be one, I'm not going to argue with that either. He has a really good case to be number one. But my number one, again, it's not necessarily for best stuff, but I gotta go Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna go Aaron Rodgers at number one. Significant. What's the positives? Play, MVPs, Super Bowl championship, going through that summer of 08, replacing a legend in Favre. I mean, you want to say he's the best thrower of the football that you've seen, or at least in Packers football history? Go for it. I won't argue with you. You know, there will be the debates probably long, you know, it'll continue long after we're all gone. Who's the best quarterback is in Green Bay Packers history? You know, it's between Starr, Favre, and Rodgers right now. Maybe Jordan Love can do that, get involved in that conversation. I'll have to win a championship and such first. But you factor in everything else with the whole Rodgers thing, the drama. You know, whether you like his personality or not, whether you agree with his views or not, he's a lightning rod of a topic, and he gets talked a lot about. I mean, we're still talking about him. And he hasn't played quarterback for the Packers in the last couple seasons. But you look at the positives, you look at some of the negatives, you look at a few years ago, the whole he wants out. No, then he's coming back. Darkness retreat, Pat McAfee show appearances, venting. I mean, all this different stuff. I mean, how many NFC Championship games? When you think about 2000 to 2025 and you think about the Green Bay Packers quarterback, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers. And, you know, at that time, replacing Favre, it was like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be able to replace a legend. You're just kind of hoping that he's going to be a decent quarterback and a good quarterback. And the way, his career started as like this was a guy that everybody liked. I mean, he was on TV shows like The Office. He was doing softball games. He was doing all these funny commercials and a lot of stuff with Mac Fun and just he's like, oh yeah, this is a dude. We like this guy. And then things changed. And when you think about the last 25 years and you think about, Green Bay in that aspect, who's at the forefront? It's Aaron Rodgers. So that's my list. That's my list. What's yours? Let me know. Curious to hear it. Take a quick break. We'll finish up. Second, I only got a couple minutes left, so stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I've only got about a minute left, so we'll do some receiver defer coming up after the top of the hour. No outdoor chat with Jake either this morning. So if you had any outdoor questions, hold on to those until next week when we catch up with Jake. So final call though, if you do have any receiver defer questions, I'd love to hear them. Text them on over 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Don't forget to registration's open for the Casper Classic. Let's fill it up, baby. We're going to be at Lake Hallie this year. Beautiful Lake Hallie golf course. If you need that link, let me know and I'll text it to you. Okay. I'll help you out. Get your two-person team in 10 a.m., 1 p.m. tee times. We do have a 7:30 tee time again, but that's only going to be available to sign up for until Memorial Day. Okay. A little bit of a twist there. So everything else is the same, $90 per team. Okay. It's $45 per person. But let me know and I'll text you the link so you can get signed up. Big thanks to everybody who's already signed up for that. All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. Stick around, we'll be back after these news updates. Final hour kicking off right now on this Thursday morning of March 13th. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're tuning in, wherever, however you're tuning in. We'll get back to some more texts coming up in just a little bit, but don't forget you can give us your thoughts by hitting us up on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Packers fans, kind of an informal poll question for you all this morning, and it looks like it's a wide majority, so don't be shy if you don't agree with the majority. But would you be in favor of the Packers signing Cooper Kupp, making a move to bring in Cooper Kupp to the wide receiving department? Yay or nay? And tell me why. Tell me why. So we got that. We'll keep everybody posted on thoughts there. But in the initial rundown, it looks like a wide majority saying yes, do it. Hey, really quick, looking for fresh, affordable, and convenient? You'll find it all at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From fresh produce to top quality meats and everything in between, they make shopping super simple. Need a quick dinner solution? Check out their delicious grab-and-go meals. Hosting a get-together, their bakery and deli have you covered. Plus, with weekly deals and friendly service, there's always more to love. And don't forget about their fuel savers that help you save some money at the pump. Shop smart. Shop Hy-Vee. Bring up Hy-Vee because we have another tailgate hangout coming up. Put it on your calendars for March 31st. Is the Brewers home opener, but we're gonna get together and have a little lunch. If you got like a lunch break, because first pitch is at like 1:10. Want to take a little bit of a later lunch break? We're gonna go hang out at Hy-Vee and watch a little bit of the game. So that's what I'll be doing. So if you want to hang out with us, I believe Brandon's going to be joining us as well. I'll double check that tomorrow. But got a few things popping up here on the schedule for some tailgate hangouts. We're going to be at VFW Post 305 next Friday, and then on Monday, March 31st, put it on your calendars. We'll be hanging out at Hy-Vee watching a little Brew Crew action for their home opener against Kansas City. All right, let's do some receive or defer. Speaking of the Brewers, a little bit earlier, C-Bomb said receive or defer. Jesus Made is on the big league club within the next 2 years. We were talking quite a bit about this 17-year-old prospect for the Brewers. It's gaining a lot of attention, turning some heads for major league people out there. I will say defer. I'll say 3. I'll say 3 years. Unless, okay, so a little caveat to that. Unless he just blows it up this year, then I think it moves up the timeline. But I'll say 3. So defer on the 2. I'll go with the 3. Another texter said receive or defer. Jair Alexander will be a draft day trade. I'm going to defer. I'm going to defer that. I think it'll be before the draft. I think at some point it'll be before the draft. There's still some question marks about whether he'll be traded or released. I mean, Goody's got nothing to lose right now at this point. I mean, yeah, if you do it now, you can create a little bit more cap space. There's like no escalators, or anything like that. Do post June 1st, you can create a little bit more cap space. So I guess unless something happens to where they can acquire a Trey Hendrickson and give him a new deal and they need a little bit more cap space, then they may release Jair to create a little bit of that cap space or try to trade him with a little bit more urgency and try to get something in return. But I guess at this point, I hope if they are truly moving on, which I still feel like they're going to, I hope they get something in return. I hope they get a pick, but I don't know if that's going to happen at this point. I think teams are going to try to call it bluff a little bit and try to like force Green Bay to release him so then they can try to sign him and maybe try to get a cheaper deal from him too. So receive or defer. the Bucks will end up in the play-in round for the playoffs. I'll defer that too. I know this is a very, 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 very difficult portion of the schedule coming up for the Bucks, and they're in a tight one between the Pistons and the Pacers for seeding when it comes to around, the 4 seed and such. But I think there's enough of a gap between those 3 and then the 7 through 10 teams. I think at worst, the Bucks will finish as a 6 seed. At best, they'll be a 4 seed. I don't think they could catch up to the Knicks and get that 3 seed. So I'll defer that they're going to be in the play-in round of the postseason. I think they'll do enough to remain between 4 and 6. So, receive or defer, Christian Yelich plays at least 120 games this year. Ooh, we're putting the line at 120. I'll make it 119.5 just so we can do a little over-under on that one. So let me see. What is he projected at? Can I get that on Baseball Reference? What's his let's see if they got that on there. So, load up. So he's projected to have 421 plate appearances, but they don't have games on there. Can we do some simple math? So let's say 4 ABs a game. Or 4 at bats a game, 4 plate appearances a game. That's about 105. Yeah, I'll probably go the under, so I'll defer that. I'll defer. This Baseball Reference, they're not very high on Christian Yelich's offensive numbers this year. 12 home runs, 18 doubles, batting average of a 268, OPS of a 786, and a slugging of 427. So he's a career 466 slugging, a career 843 OPS. So I'll make this one. Receiver deferred as Christian Yelich get over 20 home runs. I'll receive that one. I call it bullish, but I think Christian Yelich will have over 20 home runs this season. I'll receive that. But I don't think I'll go under the 120, and that does include games where he's a DH. So we're not just talking about games where he's starting in outfield or starting in left field or wherever. We're talking games where he's just going to be DH too. But no, I think he gets over 20. I'll put that line at 20, 19.5 over 20, or 19.5 over 19.5, so at least 20. Let's do receive or defer. This one is from Eric. Shout out to Eric. Receiver defer. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Vikings, they win double-digit games this year. This division is so brutal. So you look at the Vikings' schedule. Now, we don't know when and where they're going to be playing and such, but we know the opponents that they're going to be going up against. So it's the division teams. They're going up against the Eagles. They're going up against the Commanders. They're going up against their home schedule is actually pretty darn brutal. So it's a good thing maybe that the Vikings, I think their toughest games are all at home. But they've got, division, and then the Eagles, the Commanders, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Falcons all at home. And then their road games outside division is Dallas, Giants, Steelers, Browns, Seahawks, and Chargers. So, double-digit game. That's a tough schedule. And I'm hovering like at 9 and 10. And that's not a knock on them. It's just I think, for one, I think the division beats up on each other quite a bit this year. And I think that is a tough schedule. That is a really tough schedule. So I'm at like 9 and 10. I might have to cop out and push on that one. And that, again, I'm not trying to knock them. I'm not knocking, because I think Minnesota's going to be a good team this year. I really do. I don't think they win as many games as they did last year. So I'm kind of copping out. I don't think they win as many games as last year. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're a worse team either. It's just tougher schedule. This division overall, I think, is going to be better. It's going to be tougher to get through. So, yeah, I'll go with that. All right. Big thanks to everybody who sent in some receive or defer questions. We got a few more texts chiming in on the Cooper Cup question. So we'll take a quick break and we'll get to yours. So last call for that before we move on from that topic. If you are the Packers, do you consider bringing in one Cooper Cup? Last call for your responses coming up after these quick words. When pain slows you down, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics is sports medicine gets you moving again. From sports injuries to joint pain and everything else in between, their expert team provides cutting edge care to keep you active. Whether you need physical therapy, surgery, or a customized treatment plan, they're here to help you heal faster and stronger. Don't let pain hold you back. Trust the specialists at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine to get you back in the game. Josh says, I would absolutely bring Cup in for the right price. 2-year deal with most guaranteed in the first year. Nice mentor for the young guys and won't ruffle feathers with his personality. Jim says, heck yeah, I would. You could get him for a cheaper deal, short-term deal. Everybody's going to say he's been injured a lot, but he won't be relied upon as much as he was with the Rams, and you can kind of preserve him that way. Another texter here says, for the right price, yeah, why not? Add more depth and add a veteran presence to the group. I would agree with, I think, the majority. That's, if the price was right, I don't know. I wonder if Spot Track has it's. Let me see, because I know sometimes they have market values on there. Let me see if I can. Is it gonna? Do they have a market value? It doesn't look like they got a market value for him. So okay, yeah, I agree with everybody that said kind of depends on the price and such. You ain't gonna get Devontae money. He ain't gonna get $20 million per year. If somebody's gonna give him $20 million per year, good for him. Go take it. He's got a Super Bowl. Go cash in on that. But if it's quite a bit cheaper than that, heck yeah, why not? I'd be for it. You add him in, part of the rotation. He's not a number one anymore, but he doesn't have to be a number one in this situation. Good mentor, very familiar with the offense. LaFleur is familiar with him. He was the offensive coordinator when Kupp was a rookie. So I think it would be a very good fit. I think it'd be a solid fit, and I'd be good with it if the price was right. Not a long-term deal and not a lot of money invested in it. If you have The Athletic, I was reading a little bit in the break here, but Matt Schneidman was able to catch up with new Packers corner Nate Hobbs for a little Q&A. And some good nuggets in here. And so it's a little Q&A. I won't read everything in here, but there's a couple things I wanted to bring up. So he was asked why, besides the money, why was Green Bay a good fit for you? Said, honestly, because of the people in the building. There's a couple other past Raiders in the building, and it seems to be every time a Raider comes to the Packers, they're special. And on top of that, Coach Rich Bisaccia, he was with the Raiders, and we got a great relationship, if not the most impactful, one of the most impactful coaches I have ever had in my football career. He went on to say the way he went about his work and his life and his approach to life as a man, his energy never changed every day, in and out. I think you could tell a great man by his consistency, and he's a great man because he's consistent as you'll find him. It's just so many things he taught me in that short span of time, whether he told me or it was just his actions that changed my life, honestly. I have to say, like, one of the things that he used to tell us, quote, you could be banged up, hurt, sick, going through whatever. We are in the business of results. Nobody gives a crap. He said another word, but nobody gives a crap. And I adopted that mindset. That's me as a person. I've never been a complainer. I just got to get to work. But just understanding that, embracing that as a man, it makes you put all the BS aside. It's like getting a straight to work mentality, and nothing's going to be given to you. Nobody's giving you nothing. You got to go out and take everything, especially in this league, that you want. He was just on top of that, a great friend for me. He admitted he got arrested for DUI in 2022. He was a head coach when he got arrested, and I was just so sure I was going to get kicked off the team. And he embraced me and told me, nobody's perfect. You make a mistake. And I'd be lying if I said I haven't made a mistake like that when I was your age, or every person walking in this building has made that mistake when they're your age. And he told me to come in the next day with my head held high. I'll never, ever in my life forget that. It's moments like that as the head coach, he told me this, that I'm like, okay, you're different. I'll never, ever forget you. I have your back like you had mine. He was asked about, if anybody had reached out to him, obviously Josh Jacobs and Keyshawn, and he said yes. And he was asked, did anybody else kind of reach out to him, name on the list that reached out to him. So he said one, Xavier McKinney reached out to him, Rashawn Gary, and Jair Alexander. He said Jair Alexander actually congratulated me. So is it mean that Jair's going to be with Green Bay? I'm sure Jair and Hobbs know each other because, for crying out loud, they play the same position and we see it. Guys know other guys when close with other guys when they play the same position and such. But, for all the talk about Jair and, some of the stuff he says in that, kudos to Jair for doing that. If the feeling is that he's not going to be there anymore, he didn't have to do that. I don't know if they got a close relationship or such, but kudos to Jair for doing that. That's awesome. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Hobbs and where he's going to be playing. Is it outside? Is it inside? He's been such a good inside corner for the Raiders. The natural thought was that that's where he's going to be, and that's where he's going to be playing. And then, Carrington and Keyshawn on the outside, but it was Ryan Wood from who covers the Packers for PackersNews.com that mentioned that sources had told him that he's going to be an outside corner. So Matt Schneidman asked him, have the Packers told you where they want you to play? And he said, they just told me that they were excited for me and that I could do a lot of things inside and outside. I'm versatile, so we'll see. But I'm banking on being a guy who at any point, whatever the team needs me to do in that week or whoever we play, I'm up to the challenge, whether it's outside or inside. So we'll see. I honestly feel like, and maybe this is just me trying to be super optimistic about it, but I honestly feel like, okay, base defense without a nickel, yeah, sure, maybe he's a starter on the outside. But if they get into a nickel situation, he slides in the inside. That's my feelings towards it. And again, that could be just me being wishful thinking on that part, but it also goes back to the whole thing. How many times have we said put players in a position to succeed and to succeed to help the team? And if Nate Hobbs' best spot on defense is playing some nickel, playing on the inside, do it. Just because, he's got the big contract now doesn't, in my opinion, mean like, okay, you're automatically on the outside then. You look at Cooper DeJean, impactful player for the Eagles as a rookie last year. He's a nickel/safety type of guy. Trent McDuffie, corner for the Chiefs. Same thing. Byron Murphy, Vikings. Same thing. Nickel corners, slot corners are huge parts of the defense now. So I feel like there's so many times that for whatever reason, that narrative gets thrown out there that it's almost a negative when you're labeled as a nickel corner or a slot corner. No, it shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. So if he excels and his strong suit is playing in that nickel spot on the inside and you're in that formation, put him there. Don't make it too complicating or don't overthink this. Unless they truly feel like he could be a good corner on the outside and they feel like Bullard's a better nickel option. Maybe that could turn into that. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm there yet. But I hope they don't get too cute with this and don't overthink it. Put your guys, put your players in a position to where they will succeed, because if they succeed, your team, your defense will succeed. Stop putting square pegs into a round hole. I want them to do that. More text coming through saying yes to the Cooper Cup signing. John says, could you see a scenario where the Packers and Jair Alexander restructure his contract and he stays in Green Bay? If we go with what our good buddy Rob Demovsky said, he said that the Packers have not asked him to restructure his deal, and he said not that he would anyways. So from what he is kind of insinuating is that Jair probably has no interest in doing that. But here's my thing. If Jair would be interested. Now let's flip this. Let's flip this here a little bit. What if Jair goes to the Packers and says, "Hey, I get it. I've been banged up. I've been missing time, and you guys have been paying me a lot of dough, a lot of cash. I'm willing to do something different with my contract to, kind of help out and maybe put some incentives in there. More money for the more games I play, or we see incentives all the time in contracts. Everybody's got them. Make a Pro Bowl. That's why, Pro Bowls we think are dumb now, but they're actually contract incentives for a lot of players now. So they still want to make a Pro Bowl, not because they want to play in it, but because they get more cash. But say Jair comes to Goody and says, Goot, I get it. My play hasn't lived up to the contract. My availability hasn't lived up to the contract. I want to stay in Green Bay, though. I want to be a part of this. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to take a pay cut. I'm willing to put more incentives on this thing. Let's run it back. If you're Goody, how do you respond? Do you say, all right, you know what, Jair, let's do it. Let's alter your contract. Let's adjust it. Let's make it more incentive based. We're going to get you a pay cut, but you're going to get a chance to earn some of the back, a lot of that back if you hit these marks or these escalators, and let's run it back. Or do you say, you know what, Jair, I think it's time that it's a separation for both of us to go our separate ways, off the field stuff, the whole, suspension thing, and then, maybe it sure seems like something happens at the end of the season, maybe some miscommunication with whether he should have been able to play or not, or playing through an injury. I don't know. It seems like there's more there than what we're being told. So maybe Gooey's like, you know what? Don't really want to go through that again, or potentially go through that again. Let's just go our separate ways. I'd really be curious to know what Goody's response. And I know it's simple for us to say restructure, pay cut, incentives, blah blah blah. It's easy for us to say that. It's not that easy when in the real world there. But I'd really be curious to see if that were to happen. If Jair told his agent, "Hey, I want to stay in Green Bay. Tell him I'll take a pay cut." What would Goody's response be? I feel like Packers fans would be okay for that. Some of them, maybe a lot of them. Don't know if Green Bay actually would be. Interesting to think about, though. It's a nice what if, right? It's an interesting what. So, let me play this. We got a Cooper Cup thing from Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. So for everybody who said yes to the Cooper Cup, bringing him into Green Bay, and for everybody who said it depends on a lot of the money part, Ian Rappaport from NFL Network kind of, now this is just speculation, but he throws out a number on what Cooper Kupp could potentially get. So audio courtesy from the NFL Network.
This is kind of a weird situation because we've known for weeks that Cooper Kupp is available. No one's traded for him, which sort of creates the perception publicly that like his market is kind of meh. Like, I don't think it is. I think it's pretty strong. I don't think it's going to be $20 million a year. Otherwise, somebody would have traded for him. But, if it's 11, 12, like Josh Palmer and free agency got, I believe it was 12, like I could see Cooper Kupp in that range. You guys mentioned the Jaguars. Makes a ton of sense. Texans make a lot of sense, even though they traded for Christian Kirk. The Saints, what about the Seahawks, who have some familiarity there, just scheme-wise, system-wise, and personnel-wise from the Rams. There's going to be a lot of teams available, and he is at the stage in his career now where he's probably not going to be setting the all-time record in receptions. I don't want to doubt him; anything is possible, but I would not. I'm not so sure that's where he's going to be. But as a valuable security blanket for a quarterback, as a smart receiver who can keep the chains moving, he is perfect, a potential final piece for a really good offense. Cooper Kupp is going to be in demand, and I would agree with you guys. I think it happens pretty fast.
All right, so you heard 10, 11 million per year. If that's the number, are you good with that? For everybody who said yes for Cooper Kupp, if it's $10 to $11 per year, you willing to do that? I mean, you could maybe structure it so where it's a 2-year, $20 million deal, and the first year, $10 million is guaranteed. $12 million is guaranteed. Something like that. The signing bonus, he gets 2 years, $20 million, $10 million of it being the signing bonus. Something like that. You could structure it different ways to maybe where you could get out of it after 1 year. Do those numbers turn you away a little bit? Think about that for a little bit and hit me up with the text, okay? 715-830-1912. So, yes, we did talk about the Josh Myers thing already for just $3.5 million too. So, all right, let's take a quick break. We will wrap things up. Talking a little bit about, we got a Trey Hendrickson update here too. Maybe doesn't bode well for if anybody was holding out hope for the Packers trading him. We'll tell you that coming up next. The thrill of the hunt starts with the right firearm. At Tilden Gun, they know what it takes to make every shot count. Whether you're going after deer, turkey, waterfowl, they offer a wide selection of hunting rifles and shotguns built for accuracy and durability. From the moment you pick up your firearm to that perfect shot, they want to make sure you are ready. Their knowledgeable team will help you find the right firearm for your hunts with a focus on quality and performance. Whether you're just starting out or you are a seasoned hunter, Tilden Gun has something for everyone. This upcoming season, don't trust your success to anything less. Visit Tilden Gun and gear up for your next hunt. And also check out their website, tildengun.com. Don't forget, turkey bonus tags go on sale next week. Turkey season right around the corner next month. So if you're looking for maybe that new turkey shotgun and such, better get to our friends at Tilden Gun. So Diana Rossini from The Athletic posted that for a Trey Hendrickson update, if there's any Packers fans hoping for a potential trade for Trey Hendrickson, she says that teams are willing to give him the contract that he's looking for. However, the Bengals asking price is, as one GM told her, ridiculous. Doesn't say what exactly yet. It says teams are willing to pay Trey Hendrickson the contract that he desires, but I found Cincinnati's current asking price to be, quote, ridiculous, as one GM told me. Curious to see what ridiculous is. It like multiple first-round picks, or a first rounder plus a lot of other early picks, or a player, or whatever? I'm kind of curious on that. So, but we'll see if they are going to move on from him, and the longer he's on there, maybe the price tag goes down a little bit. But yeah, it would be awesome. It would be absolutely awesome if Green Bay could land him. I'm not holding out a bunch of hope that they're going to be able to do that. So, we talked a little bit about earlier, as somebody mentioned, when we did the Josh Myers signing too. Also, AJ Dillon's going to the Eagles. So, I mean, you got Quad Master 1 and Quad Master 1A over there for the Eagles now. Holy moly. But I think AJ was a lot of people's one of their favorite Packers of all time. And it sucks that his Packers tenure ended last year, really before the season began. I mean, he was doing a little bit in training camp and that, but the neck injury, he has been cleared. Hopefully he's healthy. AJ Dillon's a guy I'm going to root for. He's my son's favorite player. So it stinks that he's not going to be on Green Bay anymore, but it was my son's kind of, I think Jane Reed's now his favorite player, but AJ was his first favorite Packer, if you will. So, I mean, there's always going to be that. And he was disappointed when he found out yesterday that he's going to the Eagles and that. But, I hope the mayor of Door County, whenever his playing career is done, maybe he makes the great state of Wisconsin his permanent residence and comes back here and such. But, I understand why Green Bay didn't want to bring him back, or didn't have an interest in bringing him back. You got Jacobs. They're high on Marshawn Lloyd. So, and then, we know with neck injuries, Green Bay's always pretty cautious with that. So I hope everything's good with AJ Dillon. And boy, that's a lot of beef in that backfield with Saquon and AJ Dillon. Holy moly, they might have some squatting competitions in the weight room. All right, let's do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Let's start off with the NBA. We got a few games with the NBA. Let's start off Sacramento at Golden State. Give me the Warriors. Orlando at the Pelicans. I'll ride with the Magic. Brooklyn at Chicago. Give me the Bulls. Washington at Detroit. I'm going Pistons. Lakers at Milwaukee. I'll go Milwaukee. No LeBron. Bucks losing their last 3 in a row. They're at home. They need this win. I think they pick up the win. So I will go with the Bucks. Let's do some college basketball games, because we got Badgers back in action today. We got Marquette that's also in action. So let's start off Butler at St. John's, though. I'll go St. John's. Indiana at Oregon. I know it's not at their location, but I'm just reading it off how it's listed. So Oregon, I'll go with Oregon. Iowa State going up against BYU. That's going to be – hasn't BYU defeated Iowa State both times? Let me double check. So BYU defeated Iowa State just a couple weeks ago, 88-85. And did they only play once? I thought they played twice. Oh, okay. I thought they played. Anyways, I'm gonna go BYU. I'm gonna go BYU. And I think Wisconsin needs BYU to beat them just because right now bracketology Iowa State's a 3. That might be the best way for Wisconsin to jump up there. So I'll go BYU. Not confident, but I'm gonna go BYU. Let's do Arkansas. Arkansas going up against Ole Miss. I'm gonna go Arkansas. I know Ole Miss is favored, but I'll go Arkansas. Ohio Toledo. I gotta go. I gotta throw a Bobcats game in here once in a while, so I'll go Ohio. Marquette Xavier. Xavier's the higher seed, but I do think Marquette picks up the win. North Carolina Wake Forest. I'll go with the Tar Heels. Texas A&M. Give me Texas A&M. Iowa Illinois. I'm Ryan Illinois. Baylor Texas Tech. I'll go Texas Tech. Let's do Mississippi State, Missouri. Can Mississippi State pick it up, upset win, and try to improve the record? I'm going to go with Missouri, though. DePaul and Creighton, I'm going to go Creighton. Let's do USC, Purdue. I'm going to go Purdue on that one. Oklahoma at Kentucky. I'll go with Kentucky. Villanova, UConn. I'm going to go with UConn. Kansas and Arizona. You talk about two teams in the early part of the season that had high expectations, ranked high. They're not ranked at this point. I'm going to go Arizona to pick up the win. Marquette, Xavier. I'll go Marquette. I already picked that one, right? I'll go Marquette. And then let's do Wisconsin taking on Northwestern. I think Wisconsin bounces back after a loss against Penn State, and they pick up the win tonight. So those are your picks and predicts. Again, brought to you by The Elbow Room. So if you missed it earlier when we went through our, or at least I should say some of you sent on yours. So big thanks for that. But if you missed it, last hour we went through my top 10 most significant Wisconsin sports figures in the past 25 years. Did that because yesterday we talked a little bit about the piece from The Ringer where they had their top 100 best sports moments for the last 25 years. So I altered it a couple ways. 1, Wisconsin theme. 2, changed it to sports figures. So I went through my top 10. If you missed it, it's up on the podcast later on this morning. And the one thing I didn't do this morning that'll just straight up be on the podcast is going to be my top 5 most significant Wisconsin sports events or moments. So I got 5 on there in the last 25 years. So events or moments. So that'll be up later on this morning. Check it out on the Man Cave podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Hy-Vee and Eau Claire. If you haven't, if you got a few seconds, seriously, it doesn't cost you anything. Follow or subscribe to the podcast on like Apple or Spotify. And if you could, 5-star rating and a positive review because that helps others find it. Or it's available on YouTube too, so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel over there. So we'll put that up again later on this morning. But we talked a lot of hoops. Badgers taking on Northwestern today. I think bare minimum they need 2 wins to secure that 4 seed that they're currently projected at. I think if they get 3 wins, which would include a win against Michigan State, I think they can move up to a 3. I think they can do that and maybe even get back into playing their first round games in Milwaukee. Right now, they're projected not to be playing in Milwaukee. If we look at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, I think if you win 3 and potentially move up a spot, I think that guarantees you playing in Milwaukee and probably getting a 3 seed. Bucks are also back at it tonight, and Marquette too. I think Marquette, if again we look at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, he's got him as an 8. And I think for Marquette, they gotta win some games in this tournament, in this Big East tournament. They gotta win a couple games here to maybe get out of that 8-9 matchup. And I don't know if they can do it. I don't know how much of a jump that they can make, but yeah, because they had them. Lunardi has them playing Arkansas. And the winner of that would probably play Auburn. So, hasn't been a good finish to the regular season for Marquette. All right, Bucks also in action tonight. They need a win. I mean, they're tied with the Pacers. Bucks holding a slight advantage in terms of the standings in the Eastern Conference, but they're tied record-wise with the Pacers. Pistons are right there though too. So, I mean, this is going to go back and forth all the way to the finish line of the regular season in the last month and a half, the last quarter of this season. Lakers coming in without LeBron. You're at home. Take advantage of the shorthanded Lakers. Take advantage that you're at home. You got to get this win because it ain't going to get any easier moving forward. Pacers are coming in. Oklahoma City's coming in. And then you're going on the West Coast where you've got Lakers, you've got Warriors, you've got Kings. Got to take advantage of these games, and you got to pick up W's. I want to see Giannis and Dame dominate tonight. It's got to start with those two. It's probably like, well, no duh, but, the Pacers won. Giannis, 17 boards, 19 rebounds. I want more. The way this team is constructed and built, I want more. I need more from Dame. He's got to shoot better from the field than he did against the Pacers. Those two have to carry this team night in, night out on a consistent basis. They have an off night, Bucks are going to lose, especially when you get to the postseason. Got to have tonight's game against the Lakers. Take advantage of it. Got spring ball for Badger football starting today, too. How about that? Getting a little excited for that? Yeah, probably not. So, gosh, this is we got a few months until Badger football gets going here, but I'm going to be really curious when we get closer to the start of the college football season for Wisconsin, what the mindset's going to be like for Badger fans. Like how are you going to approach this upcoming Badger football season? Seeing how like last year went, a ridiculously tough schedule, hot seat. I'm curious to see what diehards are going to be pumped up for it for sure, but when we get to that point, what the expectations are going to be like and where people's enthusiasm for the upcoming season is going to be at. I'm going to be curious to see where that reaction is going to be when we get to that combo, when we get closer to Badger football season. So, but spring ball starts today. Spring ball back for Badger football. So, Brewers also spring training. We are 2 weeks away from opening day, baby. 2 weeks away from opening day. We talked about their new 17-year-old international signee that's getting a lot of talk around Major League Baseball, Jesus Made. If you don't know the name, keep it in the back of your mind, okay? Probably, I think, how before Jackson Cheerio became Jackson Cheerio and was on the Major League roster, we kept getting updates and we kept hearing about Jackson Cheerio, whether it was like Brewers posting stuff or Brewers reporters posting stuff nonstop. I think this is going to be the same thing with Jesus. You're going to see reporters posting videos or highlights of him. You're going to see Brewers.com posting updates about him. I think we're going to see a similar kind of build-up for Jesus that we saw about Jackson Cheerio before Jackson Cheerio was an everyday player on this Brewers team. Spring training game today, though, 3:05, taking on the White Sox. The next game that will be on the radio will actually be tomorrow's game when they take on the Giants, and Nestor Cortez is slated to start that game. And then they've got a split squad game on Saturday against the Angels and the A's. So, but 2 weeks, baby. 2 weeks away before opening day. Well, starting to get into a little more baseball mode too with the weather changing the way it is. So, all right, only got a couple minutes left. Coming up tomorrow, we'll do a little inside the training room. We got local sports roundup today. Also, state girls basketball begins. So best of luck. I know we got a few of our immediate local teams that are going to be in action. Elk Mound 135. Best of luck. Durand, Arkansas is in action tonight after the conclusion of the 6:35 game. Tomorrow we got Owen Withy and Rice Lake. Best of luck to all the girls teams. Boys, Elk Mound boys picked up a win last night. They're one step closer. Best of luck to the other boys teams who are in action tonight. Got a heck of a good one Eau Claire Memorial taking on Marshfield. That's going to be a really good matchup. Rematch from the regular season where Marshfield got the win. New Richmond's going to be taking on Wausau East. Ladysmith's taking on Cumberland. Turtle Lake's taking on Spring Valley. Rib Lake's taking on Prentice. Shout out Taylor County. Cochrane Fountain City taking on Columbus Catholic. So best of luck again to all the boys and girls basketball teams in action today and tonight. We'll do local sports roundup with Brandon coming up tomorrow. And I know he said, I think track practice started this week too. So Brandon will be joining us. We'll talk some more Brewers with him tomorrow. And maybe we'll have some free agent signings to hit up and banter about tomorrow. Maybe his Vikings will have a new quarterback by the name of Aaron. Or maybe the Packers will have another free agent signing that we could talk about. It's been a couple days. What's going on, Green Bay? Come on now, right? What are you guys doing? I'm kidding. Half kidding, being sarcastic. So, but we'll definitely hit that up if there's any other boy. What was I trying to say? Any other free agent signings there? So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off in like 20 seconds. So, again, best of luck to all the girls' games today. Elk Mound, pick up the win. Durand, Arkansas, and then all the boys' teams tonight too. Eau Claire Memorial, Ladysmith, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody, best of luck. So, DP Danettes are up next. All right, have yourself a fantastic rest of your Thursday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Be good, be safe. Talk to you tomorrow.